Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Aaron Wolf. I am the Deputy Director for Chapter Relations for OneUpAction, and today I will be leading you through a comprehensive training for social media tactics and really how to just increase your visibility on social media. So I'll be going through 10 points. I'll be talking about reaching your target audience, identifying trends, the importance of tagging and hashtags, regular posting, creating a voice for yourself, linking OneUpAction to content, types of posts you can make, graphics, rapid response, donations, and commenting on others. That's actually 11. Hope some of you caught me on that. When we talk about reaching your target demographic or audience, we mean getting your content, your posts, across to the people who really care most about what you have to offer. So on Facebook, for example, they have 2.5 billion with a B monthly users and 350 million posts per day. So making sure that our content is presented in a way that is accessible and engaging to our target audience is very important for our outreach and growth. Now, what exactly is our target audience? Well, the answer is actually much more simple than you might think. To identify who it is we're trying to reach with our content, we simply have to look at the makeup of our individual chapters. Much of our audience we want to get the attention of will be people much like ourselves. That will vary regionally, and that's why individual chapters need to identify that demographic on their own. For example, in the United States, if we find that most people involved in OneUpAction are youth between the ages of 15 to 23 per se, who take a political stance on the issue of climate change, then that is likely our target audience. So we would then take to social media, making environmental posts that take a political stance, specifically targeted towards that age group. We would share opportunities for youth to get involved in their local governments and highlight high school and university learning opportunities. These posts would likely appeal to a majority of the environmental activists and bring some new ones to your page as well, grabbing their attention and allowing our posts and our work to do all the talking for us. Your first job will be to understand the people who would want to take the most interest in what you have to say. I'll talk more about that later. Once you identify and locate this target audience, you should start shaping your content to better align with your audience. To do that, you have to look at the accounts they follow, the things they're passionate about, and cater to them to a certain extent. Now, we don't want to make any changes too drastic, but we should be mindful of what grabs their attention. If you can't get the information you need about the kind of content that gets your audience's attention, start going through your own social media feed and look at what gets your attention, what hashtags you follow, what accounts you support, and what posts you're most likely to share or save. Use that information to your advantage. Look at the posts that get the most attention and adopt styles and ideas that you think would best. Those are the first steps you need to be taking to ensure that the right people on this platform of billions of people see your content. For example, graphics like this didn't gain much traction, but videos like the sea turtle one got over 1,000 likes and 150 followers. Now, in order to do that, you have to identify the current trends within the community you want to reach. In our case, it's the environmental community, so stay up to date on environmental news, tips, or influencers in the community. If you see there's a trend to show maybe a creative way that used lumber was recycled on every Tuesday of the month, then by all means jump on that trend. It's an easy way to grow your audience. People who like that trend will always search for other posts like it, and 9 times out of 10, that means they'll stumble on your post. However, a critical mistake that many make in the process is just following the trend and doing nothing else. The best way to stand out when hundreds of people are doing the exact same thing you are is by adding an element that is unique to only your post. Whether that be a cultural element unique to your region or an element to the trend, for example, turning that lumber into a useful tool like a food composter that you can then donate to your community. You'll be able to find these trends by sifting through countless environmental pages, hashtags, and movements. I keep bringing it up and I will continue to mention it because it is vital that each chapter monitors changes, not only within their community, but globally as well. As a relatively young organization, research is our greatest asset. By taking to social media and seeing what has worked and what hasn't worked for the groups that have preceded us, we have an advantage in understanding what kind of content engages our audience early on. avoiding much of that trial and error process that we would have encountered otherwise. Try to share current climate news about Europe, Asia, Africa, and even Antarctica. Climate activism is about staying up to date to bring change, and we at OneUpAction need to do exactly that. When you add a fresh element to a trend that has thousands of posts of basically the same thing, you undeniably grab the attention of your viewer. Being different is what inspires others. We are an international organization, so we are going to have chapters who have always been different than most of the content that you see online. Embrace that. If there's an Asian chapter, an African chapter, a European chapter, an American chapter, or even a Polynesian chapter that has practiced sustainability differently from a trend circulating around the world, don't be afraid to share it. Grab the attention of your audience and show them that we here at OneUpAction do things differently than the rest, and that's why they should support us. That's why they should follow us. That's the whole point of having a social media presence. We want to grow our support base globally to make a greater impact within our community. But trends only stick around for so long. You also need a long-term plan for sustaining a growing audience. This is most easily done by monitoring hashtags. Things like hashtag environment or hashtag go green will group your posts into a larger category of posts that also use the same hashtags. Much like with trends, people who support certain causes often find posts and accounts using hashtags. If someone were to be an avid environmentalist looking for environmental pages like ours to follow, they could easily look under hashtag sustainability or hashtag climate change to find dozens of environmentally focused pages. If we actively post using relevant hashtags, we will get the attention from the audience that we want. At OneUpAction, we always use the hashtags hashtag OneUpAction, hashtag climate crisis, hashtag climate change, hashtag take action, and hashtag fix the future. Use them too, and we'll make sure to always share your content since we monitor these tags. These are two important aspects to using hashtags that you need to remember. Keep them relevant and change them up. Using irrelevant hashtags puts you at risk of marketing posts to people who don't care about your messaging. The point isn't to have a lot of random people see your post once and then disappear. It's for a particular community to see your post once and then come back for more. Changing up your hashtag is important too. Hashtags fade in and out of obscurity based on uncontrollable social factors. Monitor them using websites that track hashtag usage and relevance, and by watching which ones successful environmental pages use. Because there's a good chance that those are the hashtags that most people will look for, the ones that get used by the big names. For example, they post a picture of their team's plants with hashtag plant family. Don't hesitate to do the same and attract that audience. It's important to change them because there's a good chance that most of the people who look for that hashtag have already seen your content after a certain period of time. So replace it with one that maybe you haven't used, giving you a fresh untapped audience. Then after a while, come back to the first one. Just keep cycling through is what I'm trying to say. Keep it fresh, keep it relevant, because that's really all there is to it. Along with hashtags, tagging is a necessity in expanding your audience. Now this can take many forms, and I'll explain them all to you. It's pretty straightforward why tagging will play a large role in expanding your following. It's because you cannot partake in tagging without involving another person who may or may not have previous knowledge of our organization or our content. The first form of tagging I want to talk about is the type that involves commenting on your posts. This is a type of interactive content. I'll talk more about interactive content in much further detail later in the video. But we've all seen those posts that say something like, tag someone who needs this, or tag 4 friends that you want to do this with. This is a marketing strategy that some pages and companies utilize that we can take advantage of too. This not only gets people commenting on our posts, which tells the platform to show it to more people, but it also involves more people in our posts. Let me explain. If you make a post to 200 people that has only one of those tagging lines that I mentioned earlier, and maybe only 20 people tag another person, that's still 20 people we reached that we wouldn't have otherwise reached if they weren't tagged in the comments. Now say only 10 of those people are interested in your page and only 5 of them follow, that's still 5 new people you got just from a following base of 200 because someone tagged in your comments or some people tagged in your comments. Obviously, those numbers are random. I don't have any statistics to prove that you would always get 5 out of 200. But the number of tags will always increase as your follower base increases. That was just an example that I gave. The other form of tagging involves tagging other pages and individuals in your posts. This type of tagging not only involves those individuals you tagged in your content, but also their followers too. If you make a post that you feel is relevant to another environmental page or environmental activist, go ahead and tag them in it to use their platform to boost your views. Obviously be realistic, maybe don't tag Greta in a post that's like, simple tricks to reduce your carbon footprint, because she probably won't see it, but tag a page slightly larger than yours or one of equal size. That way, if their followers see that page's tagged posts, they can see your post. Or if the person you tagged reposts it on their page or shouts you out at the very least, all their followers get a chance to see your content and decide if they want to follow it. Now let me give you an example to make that a little bit more clear. So I live in Southern California, and if I were to post an article about how climate change is endangering local wildlife in Southern California, I would probably tag like a wildlife appreciation or advocate page that's also based out of Southern California, so that they get a chance to repost it on their page, get some views for them, get some views for me. Either way, it's like we're collaborating kind of to both expand our viewership, if that makes any sense. I would encourage you to tag other people or pages in your posts, especially for the more interactive content that you post. Now that I've covered finding and engaging your target audience, I'm going to move on to some more basic advice. Before you start a social media page, you should have a good idea of what your goals are, how many followers you would ideally like to add every week or month, how often will you post, and what kind of content you want to post and when. And when it comes to how many followers you would like to gain, the only way you can really control that is by posting regularly, which relates directly to the second goal of how often you post. Crazy how that kind of works. So it doesn't have to be every day when you first start out. It's understandable that you probably won't have much to post about being a new organization, but as your chapter grows and you become more involved in your community, there will just be basically more to post about and more people to reach. Research says that posting every other day or every 2 days helps to engage your followers a lot more than posting inconsistently. And you can reach out to a lot of different people with different posts and hashtags throughout the month. Now, if you're going to reduce how often you post or take a break from posting, be sure to communicate it to your audience, because communication is vital to keeping your online presence healthy. After all, the original purpose of social media was communication. So I don't doubt that your followers will appreciate this kind of transparency when it comes to these kinds of things. Just keeping a regular stream of outgoing content will help to ensure a steady stream of new followers. The worst thing you can do as a young account is posting inconsistently. This is damaging to your page because it makes you look unprofessional and like you really aren't doing anything that's post-worthy, which definitely won't be the case, especially not from what I've heard recently. So, like I said before, if you are going to slow down the pace of your posts, just let people know. Work on creating a page-follower relationship where you give them educational, funny, and unique content in a consistent manner. Work ahead of time and just lay out a chunk of time every week to create posts and schedule them for the upcoming week. This will help your growth and ensure longevity. Our team makes posts 1 week at a time so that we can keep up with the current events and stay relevant. Also, find someone in your team to look over your posts so they can give feedback on captions and designs, because it's always helpful to have someone else's input as well. You can still go in and change things as the week progresses, but it reduces a lot of stress and ensures quality content when you schedule posts ahead of time. There are services on certain social media platforms that allow you to schedule posts. If not, there are third-party apps that will allow you to do the very same thing. When you post with the intention of reaching out to new followers, there will always be some posts that do very well and some that do only moderately well. But it's basic reasoning that the more you post, the more successful posts you'll have. Speaking of consistency, another thing you have to keep in mind running a social media account for an entire chapter is the voice of the chapter that really represents your branch of the organization. So when you post on social media, we recommend that one person be given full responsibility of running the social media accounts of your chapter. This is because over time, your viewers will grow accustomed to that voice of that individual, and they will become used to the way the person writes, how they structure posts, their responses to comments and direct messages. And it's important to give your audience a single voice for them to build a relationship with, like a personal connection, because they will see that voice, they will see that as a voice that like represents your entire chapter. Now, we're not saying that multiple people can't make posts on behalf of your chapter. We don't want to hold you back like that, but when there's only one person doing it, it makes it easy to keep the tone and the structure and the personality that your audience perceives from the chapter consistent. So not only does it make us seem more professional, but it also makes us more personable, more relatable. So developing a personality for your chapter is important, making sure your page is a desirable and enjoyable place. Now, either you can make the voice that of your social media director, so you can just have them talk the way they normally talk, or they can create a new voice for the chapter, one that's like informative yet personable. Some examples of this voice, if you want to do some research into what I mean, are the social media posts of the large companies Wendy's, Chipotle, and Denny's. They all understand the importance of representing their brand with a single voice, one that their audience finds captivating and entertaining. This Wendy's tweet, for example, shows how these brands respond to questions and concerns of their audience. They keep things light, they make a joke, but ultimately their posts still reflect positively on their brand. By doing this, they can grow their fan base with funny, interactive content that is unexpected coming from such a professional organization. They also have a good proportion of informational and promotional posts to entertaining ones, and that's how these companies ensure that all major brand announcements get seen by their audience. By making your social media presence one that has a personality, you automatically grab the attention of your audience, regardless of the content you may be putting out. Don't be afraid to get witty, make jokes. Just don't forget what we're on here to do. We're here to make a change. Now, doing this is not an easy thing to do. This is one of the finer details that I suggest you don't spend too much time on when you're first getting started. Let your social media director or whoever is in charge of your posts, play around with it a little bit. Let them try to find that voice that they like and that your audience likes. Their job is to work with the rest of the chapter, deciding how they want to be portrayed to their audience, and then using that information to find the personality that is right for the job. It should be a reflection of who you are as a chapter, culturally, socially, and morally. Don't be afraid to express yourselves. Our goal is to not have every chapter be how we imagine them to be. We want you all to be unique. Let that shine on social media, through your posts, your campaigns, your hashtags, whatever it may be. This is an opportunity to really make these pages your own. One thing I would like to mention that we hope that you guys would do on your accounts is linking other OneUpAction websites. Whether that may be our main website, other chapters, articles about us, really anything, because the average social media user has a short attention span. When you meet someone for the first time, science says that within 7 seconds, our brain already has a solid impression of them. On social media, it takes even less time for that impression to be solidified. And just as fast as we can make a good impression, we can lose their interest entirely. So when someone clicks on the profiles of one of our chapters, after we make a good impression on them, they'll look for similar impressionable content, something to convince them to follow us. And what we're doing by linking websites and accounts is giving them more to look at, more convincing evidence that they should follow us, that they should support us. By linking external sites that involve OneUpAction, we are taking them off of the freeway that is social media, where you can practically go anywhere, and instead leading them down a tunnel of our content, our websites, our fundraisers, our merch, anything. We're here to grow support and community involvement, and the more we can do to make a long-lasting impression, the greater the return on investment is, metaphorically speaking. Adding links just makes it easier to find out more about our organization. Keep these links on your account to showcase all of the unique OneUpAction chapters and help them find other ways to combat the crisis too. When you add these links, tell your followers about the opportunities to join your chapter and the opportunity to join OneUpAction International and create a chapter of their own, or contribute in whatever way they deem fit. If there are any notable articles written about your work, or even honorable mentions about your chapter or us as an entire organization, don't be afraid to add that to the list of links on your page. Don't be afraid to brag a little bit, By showing that we have accomplished so much already as a young organization, we prove to them that we aren't a group whose sole purpose is to raise awareness on the issue at hand, but to also combat the ongoing crisis in our hometowns, to prove to them that we are a community worth supporting. Now it's time for us to get down to brass tacks. I'm going to go over the types of posts you can make on your own. Now don't think that we're going to try to limit you to these options in any way. I know that this has been an overwhelming 25 minutes or however long I've talked so far, so we'll help you out a little bit just by giving you some options you can choose from in terms of content, because I've thrown a whole bunch at you. If you have some better ideas or would like to make some other kinds of posts, by all means go for it. We're not trying to limit you again. We just want to give you some basic options to choose from so you can kind of have an idea of all the possibilities really when it comes to getting your content out there. Now for this first kind of post, I'm going to kind of circle back to the beginning of the video a little bit. I wouldn't encourage you to start too many of these because there will already be ones kind of circulating on the internet and ones that other chapters will want to start. But obviously there are posts that follow or create trends. Now this one can be a powerful tool for an organization like us, because if you want to start a trend, something catchy and easy to follow, then you can spread it to other chapters that are willing to participate. One of the greatest challenges that most individuals face when trying to start trends on social media is there really just aren't enough people willing to hop on such a young trend so early. The ugly truth is, unless you have organized others to participate, or you are an influencer with a large fan base, starting trends can be a daunting task. But don't feel intimidated to start a trend. Coordinate with other chapters and tag each other to work together. An amazing example is the OneUpAction chapters in Africa, who all worked together on the Dirty Hands Challenge and planted hundreds of trees together from Burundi to Zimbabwe. Tag your friends and other organizations you know to hop on and increase your audience and get more people taking action. Like I said earlier, posting about trends, try to change things up. Add your own unique spin on whatever trend you are taking part in. Make it your own without taking away from the purpose behind the movement. You can too. Try to do something new every time you post for that trend. Maybe one day you paint this repurposed driftwood to look a certain way, and then maybe the other day you present it to a local lawmaker. Possibilities are really endless, and that's why you shouldn't settle for just alright. Have fun with it. Make it special. Another type of content that I promised to elaborate more on earlier in the video is interactive content. Now when I say interactive content, I mean posts along the line of polls, Q&A sessions, surveys, and questions that will encourage involvement with us and increase engagement across our entire platform. These types of posts can really fit in well anywhere you see an opportunity to share interactive content, like Facebook Live, Twitter polls, Instagram stories, just wherever you see an opportunity, take it. When we produce that kind of material, we are communicating to our audience that we want to involve them. We care about their input because we are members of the community just like them, and understanding their concerns and their needs is our top priority. A perk of putting out lots of interactive content is that it cuts down on the guessing game that we talked about earlier in the video. When you can reach out to your audience and directly ask them what kind of things they would like to see from us, you can kind of get a good sense of what direction to take your content and your advocacy. When you're told what kind of content and action is expected by you from the majority of your audience, you can better shape your social media presence to meet those demands, helping you improve your page and helping you operate even better as a chapter. And interactive content shouldn't all just be like you guys asking advice on what you can do better as a chapter or things that your audience wants to see. First of all, we don't want our audience to think that we're constantly running out of ideas that we have to ask the community. And secondly, we want to put out interactive content that creates a discussion in the comments or surrounding that post. For example, you can ask a difficult question like, how do you think we can reduce the use of plastic in grocery stores? Look for opinions on certain topics or poll results. Get your followers talking and respond to them too. Chime in on discussions that go on in your comments and show them what you think too. Interactive content also works great as an avenue for recruiting interested individuals. You can ask for people to direct message your chapter showing environmental actions that they took part in for a chance to get shouted out. You can treat that process of finding someone to post as an interview process. No, why did I pause so much? You can treat that process of finding someone to post as an interview process. At the end, just casually suggesting that, hey, maybe they'd work great with the people in this chapter, or hey, your ideas could really, be used in this chapter. We want to attract those who have dedicated themselves to fighting climate change, the types of people that OneUpAction is composed of, and having them get involved with us is a big step to success. This is how we can identify members of our communities that would be the best fit for joining us and supporting us. It's an incredibly effective passive method of recruitment because we're putting no pressure on these individuals. Q&A sessions would likely be an activity that would have to be hosted live. Or if you don't feel comfortable being put on the spot like that, you can have people comment questions and answer them in a pre-recorded video, like this one, and then you can go and post it. Use any way you feel comfortable and any way you can grab the attention of your audience. The whole point is to involve them in our chapters because we want everyone's involvement. We shouldn't treat our social media pages just as a bulletin where we announce our achievements and nothing else. Although you should announce your achievements, like I said before. Brag a little bit, there's nothing to lose. DIY posts are a fairly self-explanatory category of content that rake in easy attention. Try linking other websites that give tutorials on simple tasks or projects you can complete to be more sustainable. Or lead a tutorial yourself, share cultural practices or personal innovations that could help others. This was the type of post I was referring to before, where you could add the tag somebody who link a line to it to spread it just beyond your followers. These DIY posts show that we're here to improve the community and that our work and tricks aren't exclusively just for our organization, but that we are open to the community feedback and willing to share whatever we can to service the community. I would recommend, if you would like to repost some other websites' how-to post, attempt it first and post those photos alongside the how-to post, along with the message of your experiences on there, so it adds a little personalized touch that may be missing in other groups who only post the how-to and nothing else. Involve your friends, neighboring chapters, and even us to take part. This all may seem a little excessive, but these are all just suggestions that we think would set you apart from the rest and set you up for success online. Allow your mind to wander sometimes, get creative with all your content. If you can find some way to make it interactive, do it, even if it wasn't intended to be interactive to begin with. Experiment with your posts to develop meaningful interactions with your followers and create a community, no matter how big or small, of people dedicated to bringing real change. Showcase posts are similar to what I mentioned in the interactive posts. These are posts that take individuals from the community and give them a stage to kind of display their achievements and hard work. If you're scrolling through social media and you see someone local or even non-local who did something great for our cause, then reach out to them if you want to. Offer to spotlight them. I doubt anyone would say no, really. That's an honor for anybody. You can also highlight the work of other chapters to increase their viewership if you notice something that you believe deserves more attention than it's getting. We are each other's support system. If one of you does something great, the others should not be afraid to showcase that. Show the world what we're capable of. All right, now I want to walk you through this social media starting guidelines PowerPoint that our social media and graphics manager made for us. Oh, that'll be in the link down below, by the way. So I'll just walk you through creating graphics, posts for your posts and stories, and then just extra resources you can have. I'm going to be brief about this because a lot of this is visual, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview. So creating graphics, you should use your own images if you can. If you can't, because I really recommend using your own images. It's a great way to show the community your involvement and all the great things that you've been doing personally. If you can't use images from these websites like unsplash.com, pexels.com, or Pixabay, these are all free use photos, so you don't have to worry about copyright, I don't think. Search for keywords too that pertain to your post. So if you want to do a post for like International Polar Bear Day, like it says down there, search like the Arctic, polar bears, or climate change to get photos relevant to your post, to your cause. So for example, if you wanted to post a photo celebrating a new chapter's, first project or a new campaign, then if you want to find an online photo of someone celebrating or show a picture of your team celebrating, that's the ideal, photo. If you can't find a photo of your team celebrating, if you can't get your team to celebrate and take a photo of it, then maybe go online and find a photo of that. Or for example, if you want to take a photo of an oil, or if you want to talk about an oil spill in the Russian Arctic, you can search up climate change and Unsplash. You can go online, pull a photo from a news article, and just cite it a little bit. Now, moving on to creating graphics, after you get the image, go to www.canva.com, CANVA, and create an account and log in, because this is where you're going to really be able to do the bulk of your photo editing, your graphics design. So it's a free website, I believe. You can create accounts, easy to do. And then I'll skip most of this stuff because you'll be able to see it if you click on the social media starting guidelines and resource down below. I just wanted to give you a quick overview, quick summary. So I'll skip the photo creating tutorial. There's a lot of photo creating tutorial. This is very in-depth. I like this. Wow. Oh, here we go. Okay, I got this. So when it comes to using stories, use big and minimal text. So say as little as you can to get the point across, but make it grab your attention, make it big. Focus more on your images and your graphics, because that'll grab more attention than the words will when it comes to like posting on stories. And make them interactive later on Instagram. So make it so that once you post these on your story, they can come back to them and look at them in the future. So when celebrating days or months, add a question sticker to ask your audience something. So like when it's like Earth Day, Earth Day. You can add like a little sticker that's like, what did you do to celebrate Earth Day? One important thing to keep in mind when you are creating stories for Instagram or Facebook, don't try to put too much into the graphic. Just make the graphic pop. Say what you want to say what you're celebrating, say what you're trying to get attention for, and then maybe like one or two lines, not even one or two lines, a couple words to talk about it. You can talk more about it later on, but like 5 or 6 bullet points, that's not going to grab anybody's attention. Also in this PowerPoint, there's a lot about creating graphics for your stories and creating like very good interactive content. I highly recommend that you check this out. Sana did an amazing job on this, and it'll be a very big help for you guys too. Okay, and then back to normal. Like I said earlier, when creating graphics, if it isn't off of one of those sites that provides photos for free to use, be sure to cite where you got that photo from to avoid any ownership issues with the original creator of the photo. The last thing anyone wants is to create a legal issue using a photo of like a frog or whatever it was, just to boost visibility of your post. So just cite it fairly simply in the last line of your post, so we can avoid any kind of hiccups or misunderstandings. After you discuss everything after you discuss everything you want to cover in your post, in the last line you can just include something like photo credit, website name, or photographer's name. That's enough for most people, and by doing this you won't have to worry about any issues stemming from your use of other people's pictures in these posts. Now, something else that Sana mentioned that I wanted to highlight again was the use of relevant, eye-catching photos and videos. If you want to promote something that you've done in the past or something that you've planned, you want to get people's attention. That's your whole point. You want to get people's attention, and you want to like grab that attention. So choose images and videos that would get the main point across. If you take photos of your team in action, I would always recommend using those, especially if they involve the activity you're trying to publicize. You can still put them in the photo editing website that Sana showed us, Canva. I would recommend that. Just make sure it looks pretty and it pops out to viewers. Similarly with videos, if you're trying to promote something and no one has to see the entire, all the footage, all the video from one event, don't give that to them. Show them the highlights. Make them excited about what we're doing. You don't have to do any fancy video editing if you don't want to. Don't even add music if it's too much of an inconvenience. But show them the best moments, show them all the highlights, make them excited about participating, and get them like wanting to join in. So give them 15 to 45 seconds of video that maybe shows them the most engaging and most rewarding moments from any events that you guys had, because we want to grab the attention of your viewer and give them just a little teaser, just enough information that you feel like it would compel others to reach out to get more information. So for example, if I go back to that driftwood example, maybe show like 10 to 15 seconds of your team on the beach, like some nice beach like video, like looking for some driftwood and then finding that driftwood, and then 10 to 15 seconds of them crafting the driftwood into whatever you want to make it, into whatever project it's supposed to be, and then 10 to 15 seconds of them presenting it to the community, and them giving it back to the community for more sustainable means, and just like celebrating that great project. That's all you need to do. I have 3 more subjects I want to touch on before we finish this off, so I promise I'll be brief and I'll try to be fast. The first thing I wanted to talk about was rapid response. Be responsive to messages and comments that you receive from your audience, because 83% of Facebook users and 71% of Twitter users expect a response to their messages the same day they send them. The person in your chapter in charge of social media should be checking their accounts at least 3 times a day to stay up to date on all the messages we receive. Once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and right at night. This is again so we keep our audience's attention. We want to be fast with our responses so that our audience stays engaged and interacting with us. We never want to grow to a size where we feel like, and where our audience feels like, we can't answer all the questions and concerns of our viewers. We want to be able to answer every question they have for us, even if that means sometimes directing them towards our website or adding a second person on your social media team just to answer correspondence. So be it. We want to always be approachable. We're here not just to take action ourselves, but to be an organized resource that the community can always rely on for personalized assistance. So when you get the question or comments that concern your chapter that warrant a response, then I recommend you answer them the same day or at least within 24 hours, just as a common courtesy. You can pick a time every day for your chapter to check social media for these kinds of questions, or even publicize that time, so that everybody knows if they want a question answered fast, they know they can ask it before or during this time where your team will be checking social media for these questions. This will improve the line of communication between yourself and your viewers immensely, an improvement that they will be grateful for, and one that they will definitely appreciate in the future. Again, just be communicative. If there's any reason you can't do something, let them know why. Don't just let your audience think you've forgotten about them, because that's the worst thing we can do. A vital component of the support system I spent so long talking about is the donation pages. We want to make sure those pages are easily accessible and appealing to our viewers. On Facebook, that means using their tools and resources to craft a very visible donation page, where your audience has a clear understanding of where the funds go and how they can get their donations, how they can see their donations make a difference. When asking for donations, we have to be conscious of how we appear to ask for donations. Let me explain that a little bit. Show your audience that much of our funding will come from donations, while at the same time avoiding looking desperate. It's that careful balance that you have to consider. Take Wikipedia's donation message, for example. Look it up if you don't know what it is, but they make it very clear that they rely on donations for the community because they are of the community and are here to serve the community. They are a public service, and they will only be able to continuously serve us well if they are given that resource they need to operate at full capacity. Our chapters are a lot like that. Our administration team is here to provide support and oversight where it is needed to make sure the individual chapters are given the resources they need and understanding the goals of this organization. The work of fundraising and outreach is mostly up to the individual chapters themselves. Now, we can provide ideas, fund request applications, resources, and connections, but we want all of you to operate as independently from us as you can, because that way you can really make these chapters your own. You can really embrace these chapters and kind of raise them to be your own like brain children. An easy way to publicize your donation page, often without sounding desperate, is by having a message that you kind of leave at the bottom of every post. You can create a space where you mention donation opportunities wherever you like without sounding desperate, instead as a little reminder. Let me give you an example. So, you know when you send an email to somebody, like some like official, some politician, and they always answer back, and in the bottom it says, like, from this person, and it talks about like their office that they hold, their contact information, and like where you can send stuff. Like that's like the kind of like that message that I'm talking about, the one that's always the same, the bottom of every message, no matter what you send to them. So if I was to make a post about one of our recent projects in this imaginary chapter that I'm a part of, I would have a message that says, it is because of the continued support of all of you that we were able to keep serving our community with projects like these. If you would like to find a way you can help, click here. And I would have that at the bottom of every, like pretty much every message or every post I have, whether it be like of projects or just in general, that'd always be at the very bottom so they can see it, but it doesn't seem like we're asking constantly for donations. It's just always there. So it's a good passive way of doing it. And then if you click on that, it would send them to a donation page that your chapter set up, or it'll send them to the donation button on Facebook. Whatever way you choose to do it, just make sure it's accessible and as simple of a process as possible, so that our supporters are more likely and encouraged to donate. Now, if you want to create a separate page for donations, there are websites like Fundly, Fundly, where you can fundraise and give more information. If you want to create a separate page for donations, there are websites like Fundly, Fundly, where you can fundraise and give more information about what particular funds would be used for, even giving updates on their donations on your page. I suggest certain lesser known pages over GoFundMe because they don't take any money that is donated, unlike GoFundMe. Do your research before you choose a platform to create an eye-catching page that highlights past projects and show that you are taking action. We can elaborate more on this in the future if you would like, just let us know. Another way of encouraging donations is by rewarding them with creative shout-outs or recognitions that your chapter thinks of. It can be publicly thanking them for donations over $20, or adding their names to projects that were completed thanks to their donation. Really, anything you can think of. Like I said earlier, even if it's not formatted to be interactive, make it interactive. Like other suggestions in the past, it's just an idea. Don't feel any pressure to implement these, but that's a great way to encourage continued donations. All right, we did it, everybody. The final thing that I want to talk about, last thing, is commenting. Not other people commenting on you, but your chapter, your pages, commenting on other people. Now, like I talked about earlier, when it comes to our brand, creating a personality for your social media page will take you a long way, especially when commenting or reaching out to other pages. Some reasons you may want to comment on other people or other pages is to make your account more visible to those that may not know who we are, or creating a line of communication with potential collaborators. Now, when it comes to commenting on other pages to increase visibility, let me show you what I mean. If there's a big environmental page that has lots of followers and you find you are struggling a little bit to get followers of your own, start commenting on their page, relate experiences to their post, comment them in the comments, encourage them to keep working hard, make a relevant joke. Anything you can comment that might increase the visibility of your page, go for it, because you'd be siphoning some of their followers over to your page, using their big platform to increase your own. Don't comment like "follow us as well" or similar phrases, because organizations will either delete them or people won't see you in a positive light. They'll think you're only there to steal like followers. Use that voice that I talked about developing earlier to really grab the attention of other audiences when commenting. Comment on a whole bunch of posts and pages just to get your name out there, so you can gradually start attracting more attention for yourself based on your consistent presence on these pages and the constant interactions you have between these big, by commenting on these big accounts and by interacting with other people in those comments. I also mentioned using comments to communicate with potential collaborators. This is the first step I recommend you take when you see someone in your local community that your chapter would like to work with in future projects. Commenting on a recent post of theirs or complimenting them and asking to reach out to talk about working together. This gets the attention of their viewers and makes them curious about what your account does, since you're so confidently asking to work together, and they'll naturally click on your account to see what you have to offer. If they don't respond, you can always message them directly, but the first step you should take is asking to work together in the comments, because their viewers see that and they're like, oh, who is this person? Who is this person asking this person to collaborate with them? They must be pretty powerful. They must be doing the same thing. Let me check them out. So it's kind of like that. Also, don't be afraid to be pushy. You know, if someone doesn't respond the first time, try in a week or 4 days. If you want to really reach out to somebody and make a connection, keep trying. Don't just give up. Of course, if someone doesn't respond after 3 tries, maybe it's time to give up and move on to another person, someone maybe worth spending your time on. But always reach out to smaller influencers or organizations, because their community is small, but it's always engaging. It's always got the right kind of people in it. All right, that's all I have to say for this training. Thank you all for sticking with me to the very end of this video, through all my babbling and all of that. I really appreciate it. We will link additional resources mentioned in the video, or not mentioned, down below. One of the resources being the OneUpAction social media guide that I highly recommend you check out, very much like Sana's PowerPoint, because there's a lot of vital information in there that I didn't have time to mention in this video. It'll be the top link, and if you have any questions or would like some more information about your social media presence, always feel free to email me at Aaron, A-A-R-O-N, at oneupaction.org, and I'll try to answer your questions. If not, I'll hand you over to Sana at S-A-N-A at oneupaction.org, our social media and graphics manager. Anyways, thank you guys so much for sticking around. Also, I want to say Sana did help a lot in this video. Have a great day, guys.